Recording in progress.
Welcome in the latest episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the European Soccer Edition. We are 20-5 on our best bets, the ultimate best bet coming end of show, where I smash together my favorite bets from each of the leagues I cover. Today, we don't have Liga in France because they're doing the Coupe de France, and it's a lot of lopsided matchups. So if anything you'd like to find in betting in France soccer, please check out my Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warner. And just got off the college basketball podcast, the Need for Seeds college basketball podcast, with my co-host at Big East Ben. And so we're doing late night with the real_G Warner. Going to find some winners on the soccer pitch. Just got to tweet out so everyone knows I'm live. Hopefully that is the case. And let's get into it. So we're going to start on this episode by where we always do, where the money is, and that is in the English Premier League. As soon as I can get there, let me just make sure. I should have prepared by having this already pulled up, but that's what happens when you're doing two podcasts after midnight. Local time is I'm now in the Eastern time zone. But we'll be here for another week or so. We'll start on Saturday in the English Premier League. Only looks like 7 hours, less than 7 hours till this game kicks off. So I got to figure out how I'm going to post all these videos and get some sleep in this time. But we'll figure that out as we go. We start with Aston Villa at home to Manchester City. Wow, what a year can do for teams, considering where Manchester City are today versus where Aston Villa are today as well. So Aston Villa, they're toiling in Champions League, really struggling to manage both competitions, but still get a ton of respect from the gambling marketplace, no matter what competition they're in. Quarter goal underdogs today on Saturday, the 21st of December, 2024, to the Manchester City dumpster fire that's currently plaguing Pep Guardiola. 1-0 lead on at home, actually, in the Manchester Derby this past weekend. Couldn't hold that. Couldn't even draw. Pretty incredible. And I don't know where this all ends. Currently, total is a 3, just a little bit more to under. So Aston Villa last year beat Manchester City and Arsenal in a ridiculous, incredibly brutal back-to-back schedule. Beat them both at home. I think both low-scoring 1-0 matches, if I remember correctly. And Aston Villa's defense has not been the same this year, which does bring some questions up for sure about total and side here. I just, at this point, I feel like betting against Manchester City is almost a given. They have struggled so much. They can't win matches. They're favored every match they play, no matter where they go. Besides, I think their trip to Liverpool. But I got to say, to me, Aston Villa, they've got so many problems, but I just don't know that Manchester City at this point, with their lack of dominance, they're used to being dominant. They can't be dominant. They're playing players out of position because they've had such injury problems. Maybe they didn't do enough signings in this offseason, or maybe they just kept and held on to players who got too old and are too injured. I'm looking at you, Kevin De Bruyne. I think at this point, I can't lean any other way than to the home dog getting a quarter of a goal, which is very juiced right now on the Manchester City side. It could be climbing towards a half of a goal. And I also lean to under 3 because I just don't trust Manchester City to score. And I believe that 3 is an important push number, kind of like a 9 in the past in baseball, or it's not the same as a +3 in the NFL, but something like that. Moving to the big window of Saturday matches, as I don't think we have any Monday matches this week. We do not, as festive fixtures are starting sooner and really very soon on the calendar. I'll start with Brentford, a quarter goal favorite to Nottingham Forest. All the juice to Nottingham Forest away from home totals 2 3/4, juiced all the way to over. Brentford have been great at home, horrible away from home. And so this fits. They probably should be a reasonable favorite. Nottingham Forest coming back from 1-0 down at home to Aston Villa, speaking of, in their match last weekend. But Nottingham Forest are in an incredible position in the Premier League table that we probably will never see again. Make sure you save your press clippings if you're a Nottingham Forest fan. But this is going to be a tough match for them going on the road to Brentford. I think at this point, I don't really want to fade Brentford at home. They played so well there for years. It's how they've stayed in the Premier League. And their drastic road and home splits are incredible. They're like a top of the table team at home this year and a bottom of the table team away from home. So I'm not looking to fade that at this point in the season. I am interested, I guess, in Nottingham Forest as a quarter goal underdog. I feel like this number is heading back towards Pick'em. If that does happen, I think I'll be then more interested in the Brentford side, as they are very likely to get a result at home, and I think more likely to win. But at this point, I don't know that I want much to do with a total. So if I had to pick something in this matchup, I'll go with the current Nottingham Forest getting a quarter of goal at this moment. Looks like we could get a 3 on the total. Brentford have been scoring a ton of goals and not defending very well. And that's the biggest issue for any sort of under, I got to say. Ipswich then hosts Newcastle after a late goal, ended up firing or getting the sack for Gary O'Neill. Late goal in stoppage time, of course, as it always does, kills my under. And from a match where both teams are absolutely gassed, Ipswich gets a corner kick and basically stalls a minute of the game so they can make sure that they get the last opportunity to win the match. They do. They get a header from like a fullback, not even a tall guy. And that's why Gary O'Neill's out of a job. Sad for him. He deserved better. Maybe he'll end up somewhere else in this league. But until then, I'm looking at Ipswich, a 3-quarter goal underdogs. Newcastle totals 2 3/4, just all the way to over. I feel like we'll probably get this to 3 before kickoff, and that makes me very interested in under because Newcastle's road offense is just not the same. I think Newcastle are a good team and one that I want to back at home, especially as a home underdog. As a road favorite, that's where I want to be on the other side. To give me a Ipswich 3-quarter goal underdog, and I lean to under 2 3/4 and waiting for a 3 in that matchup. Moving next to West Ham United hosting Brighton. Currently West Ham a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 3.25, juice all the way to under. West Ham, the anti-football that they play is incredible. They did so well to win a European trophy just 2 seasons ago and have fallen off completely. Brighton on the other side made it to Europe last year and really kind of struggled to balance 2 competitions. They're a selling club. They're building young players, so I'm not surprised. But at this point, I don't know that I really want to back West Ham at home as a quarter goal underdog, though that's certainly a home underdog thing. It's a life for me. Lean more to under 3.25, even though it does fall to 3. I'm still not afraid of that number. For the nightcap on Saturday of Crystal Palace, 1-goal underdog to Arsenal at home. Crystal Palace with even money right now, all the juice in Arsenal. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. Crystal Palace, to me, are a great home team. These teams just faced off against each other in the Carabao EFL Cup midweek. I'm not sure what to take from that, but I would imagine that it's probably a benefit to the underdog, especially when Crystal Palace won on the road midweek and now are at home where they play much better, though honestly their Premier League points this year have come mainly on the road away from home as opposed to at home. I think that will eventually change. I think Arsenal's defense will be really tough on Crystal Palace. We saw them rotate, I think, a lot more. Arsenal did. I think Crystal Palace resulted in a 1.25 goal underdog on the road for Crystal Palace that fell all the way to 3/4 and down to a half before kickoff on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I think the Crystal Palace side is what I want. Full goal of insurance is a lot, but it's probably deserved based on the result midweek and how well Arsenal can play. But I lean also to under 2.5 in that matchup. Moving to Sunday, we have Everton hosting Chelsea. Currently, Everton a 3/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Chelsea away from home. Might get a full goal of insurance here. I'll certainly be looking out for that. Total in this one's 2 3/4. She's pretty heavily to over. Chelsea have been a really great team. I mean, shock second in the Premier League, but they've got a lot of talent. I do think there's a point, though, where we can bet against their offense because I feel like it's going to struggle to score. And based on the heavy numbers that they're getting, we just saw Everton go on the road to Arsenal and get a goalless draw. I think we see the same type of output, energy, interest, all that sort of stuff, and with a huge Everton crowd behind them. So very interested in 3/4 goal. Would love to wait, and we'll wait till Sunday to get a +1 on that one. Also lean under 2 3/4, but very interested in the 3 that pops as well. Fulham then hosts Southampton. Currently Fulham a 1.25 goal favorite at home with more juice. Total is 3, just almost all the way to under. Fulham, deserved, I thought, more on the road at Liverpool, had a lead with a red card to a Liverpool defender, but ultimately ended up only getting out of there with a draw. Worked for my, bet against the spread. Did not cover the under, though, unfortunately. Southampton, who just embarrassed themselves everywhere they go, had an extra match midweek in the Carabao Cup, so not a great situation for Southampton. I think the total at 3 is probably my biggest interest in this one. Just I love the push on 3 to play under there because you start with a win and it takes 4 goals to beat you. Southampton certainly can score on Southampton. Fulham can score on Southampton. Southampton gives a goal away every match, which does make their totals a little bit less forgiving, even though they're generally above 3. This feels like this number does kind of incorporate a low scoring matchup. And that's I guess my biggest interest in this one, though I'd like to not have to worry about Southampton playing out of the back into their own net yet again. Next matchup, we'll go to Leicester City hosting Wolverhampton Wanderers. Currently, Leicester a pick'em with all the juice. Total is 2 3/4. Juice all the way to over. Wolves, I guess, had to sack their manager because they couldn't beat a newly promoted, potentially worse team in the Premier League and didn't want to waste a trip on the road to another promoted side, though Leicester are certainly very talented, have won the Premier League in the most recent years as well. Leicester as a pick'em with all the juice makes sense. I think Wolves, they've been struggling so much with all these player sales and how many defenders they haven't had available. Leicester have been good at home, and I think that's the way I lean in this one. There's been a ton of goals in Leicester matches, and Wolves defense, I've been honestly betting on Wolves to turn it around for a long time based on my respect for Gary O'Neill and how well he's profited for me in his time at Bournemouth specifically, and last year at Wolves as well. But there's not enough there for me. I lean to Leicester as a home pick'em. Moving next in the same big window of 9 a.m. Eastern time matches on Sunday, we have Manchester United and Bournemouth. Currently, United a half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Total is 3, just more to the under. Now, Manchester United played Thursday on the road at Tottenham, coming off their Sunday Manchester derby. So there's a good chance they're running on fumes here. I love the idea of being against Manchester United. It's been something it's been weird to me backing them their last 2 matches at Manchester City and at Tottenham, but they return home. They are now big favorites to Bournemouth, and looks like they might even climb to bigger at 3/4 of a goal underdog. I'd like Bournemouth even more, but I still like the half. I think Bournemouth can go to Manchester United, get a result. I think there's plenty of Manchester United growth that's required before they're a trustworthy favorite. I also lean to under 3. I just don't really believe in Manchester United's offense, and I feel like stealing a game at Manchester City only offers us more value to go against them. Last but not least, Tottenham hosts Liverpool. Currently, Tottenham a 3/4 goal underdog at home with more juice on Liverpool away from home. Totals 3 3/4, juice more to the over. Can't trust Tottenham. Don't want to back them really unless they're a full goal underdog, but I still don't even like that. I think my biggest interest in this one, Joe Dollar, is an over 3 3/4. But I'm not sure that's going to make it onto my card. So for my best bet on this English Premier League portion of the show, I'll then smash this together with my best bets from the other leagues, come out with an ultimate best bet that's 20-5 so far to start this season. I will go with the Crystal Palace Arsenal under 2.5 goals as my best bet from La Liga in Spain. Now we'll move to the Saturday card, which begins with Getafe hosting Mallorca. Currently, Getafe a 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice on Mallorca right now. Total is 1.5, juice really heavily to over, but it's going to take a while to get to my minimum requirement of 2 to play it under. So doubt we'll be seeing that in the next 6 hours from while we record. I do lean to Mallorca getting a 1/4 goal. Getafe have been great at keeping goals out of the back of their net against in 2 recent road matches at Atletico Madrid and against Real Madrid as well. But they haven't gotten wins in those, and the spread currently requires them to win the match. So give Mallorca. I'll take them a 1/4 goal underdog away from home and wait for a 2 to pop that is not likely to show up. Moving next to Celta de Vigo hosting Real Sociedad. Currently Celta a pick'em right now. All the juice on Real Sociedad away from home. Total is 2, just really heavily to over. Has been kind of moving from 2.25 to 2. I expect 2.25 maybe to come back, and that is an important number because you can win on 2 versus pushing. But I'm not sure I'm in a mood of paying a ton of juice for that sort of thing. Because if you're looking to win on an under 2.25, you probably are expecting a pretty low scoring match. So 0 or 1 is what you're really hoping for. And the push on 2 is really the most vital part of it all. Celta have been good at home. They've been very competitive against the top of the league. Real Sociedad have been playing a lot better. I've really kind of, from what was, I think, a nerve-wracking time for Imanol Alguacil, their manager. They've really turned it around and started to play good football, but I just don't really believe that it's all their results have really reflected how well they've been playing. I think they still have problems. So give me Celta, pick them, and I also lean to under 2 in that matchup. Current line at BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag. If you're not a member of either of those sites, go check the podcast description, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on YouTube, and go get some free money for signing up with your first-time deposit. Move next to Osasuna, half a goal underdog at home to Athletic Club Bilbao. Total is 2, juice pretty heavily to over. Another low-scoring match expected in La Liga. No surprise. So they've been seeing a ton of goals this year, and it's certainly impacted my bottom line. And I think most of the La Liga market, though, they won't adjust. They're still betting really low totals, and I guess riding the market that it will normalize, but there have been a lot of goals scored in La Liga this season. Osasuna half a goal underdog at home. They play a lot better there. Athletic Club Bilbao, not too far from Pamplona, so this is a Basque derby and not the most important one to Athletic Club, but probably might mean a little bit more to Osasuna at home. I love that position, so I'm interested in Osasuna getting a half of a goal. It's very juicy at the moment, maybe falls to a quarter. Still like that, and I lean to under 2 as well. For the nightcap on Saturday, with Barcelona hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently, Barca a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Atleti right now. Total is 3, just really heavily to under. Atleti been playing great, won 11 straight matches, I think, across all competitions. Didn't see that coming from how slowly they started. And honestly, they haven't played that great of football, but they're getting results. And they did spend a ton of money, and maybe that talent is coming through in a lot of the depth. They win matches late. Barca, on the other hand, started the year off so well and couldn't have probably kept that streak going, but they've gone in the opposite direction, have really started to struggle. I am interested in Atleti getting that half of a goal, probably more so than any sort of total under interest in this matchup. Moving to Sunday, at Valencia hosting Alaves. Currently, Valencia a quarter goal favorite at home, slightly more juice than Alaves away from home. Total is 2, just more to the under, almost all the way to under, actually. Valencia, I don't trust them to score goals. They had a midweek extra makeup match, and that's not great. Alaves, I think, take advantage of that. I like the Alaves getting a quarter of goal and also lean to under 2. Real Madrid then hosts Sevilla. Currently, Real Madrid a goal and a half favorite with more juice. Total is 3, just all the way to over. Real Madrid just aren't scoring enough goals to make this total make sense. Sevilla had a high-scoring match on the road at Atletico Madrid recently, but I don't trust that. Sevilla are a possession team. They'll try to keep the ball away from Real Madrid. They don't really have the team in place to do it. I feel like they kind of put a round peg in a square hole with their manager, but sometimes those round holes do fit in the square pegs. Some surprise. For right now, I think I'd rather have Sevilla under 3, though I'm trying to get a little bit further from backing unders on road underdogs, especially big ones that I don't really trust to hang around. I think Sevilla, though, have proven to me that they can keep low-scoring matches everywhere they go. Moving next to Las Palmas, let's say Espanyol. Currently, Las Palmas a half a goal favorite with more juice. Total is 2.25, just almost all the way to over. Las Palmas have played really well since they changed managers. Espanyol or very close to doing it. We'll see. They had an extra match midweek. That's not great. I think Las Palmas are the better side at this point so far this season. They've been in the league longer, of course. My biggest interest, though, in this matchup, I think, is still to see very few goals scored. The lean under 2.25, which feels like a really high total in the rest of Spain. Leganés then hosts Villarreal as a newly promoted takes on a club that's a little bit lower than they expected in the table and certainly not playing in Europe this season. Leganés a half a goal underdog at home with more juice. Totals 2.5, juice pretty heavily to under. It's hard to see low-scoring matches with Villarreal, but it's hard to see high-scoring matches with Leganés. So you decide, or if I had to decide who's going to win that battle, I'd probably lean towards Leganés at home. I just don't trust them to score goals. I don't know there's a lot for me to do with this one, besides maybe look to under 2.5. And we'll move to the last matchup on Sunday night, and that is Real Betis hosting Rayo Vallecano. Currently, Betis, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice on Rayo Vallecano away from home. Total is 2.25, juice a little bit more to under. And this is an interesting matchup because Rayo Vallecano played very defensively, but then took a 2-0 lead with Real Madrid and had to end up scoring a late goal to equalize 3-3 after falling behind somehow. Real Betis have been playing without a striker all season. I don't believe in that offense. It hasn't looked very good. Rayo getting a 3/4 of a goal is very interesting to me, especially if we get a full goal of insurance before the kickoff on Sunday evening in Spain. But I'd also like under 2.25 in that matchup as well. For my best bet in Spanish La Liga, I will go with Atletico Madrid, a half of a goal underdog on the road at Barcelona. Move now to Serie A in Italy. We'll start on Saturday with Torino hosting Bologna. We do have Monday matches in this league, thankfully, as I added an extra day to the podcast subscription on YouTube at the @real_G Warner and didn't want to be wrong and have to edit that. Great. Torino currently a 1/4 goal underdog at home to Bologna. Total is 2. Just more to the under. Torino have not looked good this season. They've not been scoring goals, but you could say Bologna is a road favorite. It's an endangered species. They made it to Champions League, but then sold off all their players and their coach left. I'm looking to be against Bologna as much as possible. Torino, it's unfortunate they're the way to do it, but I lean to that 1/4 of a goal and under 2 as well. I just don't see a lot of goals in that matchup. Genoa hosts Napoli. Currently, Genoa 3/4 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice on Napoli. Total is 2.25, juice more to the under. Now, Genoa are I mean, on a second manager, Patrick Vieira has come in to disappoint likely again. He was good at Nice, but that was like 4 jobs ago. So who knows what to expect, and didn't get selected for the U.S. men's national team either, which is wild. But Napoli, they've been controlling games by not scoring goals. It's been kind of amazing. I think my biggest interest is I do have some interest in the home dog. Would love to see them get a full goal of insurance, but I think under 2.25 is my biggest interest, as Patrick Vieira likely tries to celebrate another goalless draw. Lecce then hosts Lazio on Saturday, the late nightcap. We have Lecce, a 3/4 goal underdog at home with all the juice on Lazio. Totals 2.5. Juice is split there. We probably see this climb to a full goal of insurance. I don't know that I like Lecce enough in that matchup. Lazio certainly licking their wounds after a 6-0 loss to Inter Milan after things are going so well for them. We'll see how that rocks their confidence. If it does, Lecce, pretty good support when they travel. We'll see how that does at home. They just can't score goals, and I think that plays towards under 2.5. Moving to Sunday, Roma hosting Parma. Currently, Roma 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 3. Juice more to the under. Roma, I think, are still a fade. I would generally like to be against them also on the total by not expecting them to score goals. Play under here. But I think Parma with a full goal of insurance, which looked like that might even climb higher, is probably my bigger interest. You could still play the 3 and hope it lands there with a Parma victory, or just a Parma. I guess you can't really get a draw. 1-1 wouldn't land and push on the total with a draw, obviously with 3 goals. But 2-1 final. Certainly, you push all around with Parma at this point, and you might get a goal and a quarter before the early Sunday kickoff, especially Roma coming off Coppa Italia midweek with Sampdoria at home. So I think a lot points to Parma there. Parma been playing a lot better than Roma, I think, this season, certainly based on expectations. So give me Parma, the 1-goal underdog. Next matchup, we'll go to Venezia hosting Cagliari. Currently, Venezia a pick'em with all the juice. Total is 2.5. Juice almost all the way to over. Probably climbs to a 1/4 goal favorite here. Do Venezia at home. Cagliari coming off their midweek match with Juventus in the Coppa Italia. We'll see how that impacts their legs. I think we see Cagliari even more defensive, trying to kind of maintain their energy levels. And Venezia, newly promoted, will struggle to break them down. So Cagliari, I'm most interested in under 2.5 right now because we don't have a 1/4 goal underdog, but that might be the way it ends up landing on Sunday anyway. Moving next to Atalanta hosting Empoli. Currently, Atalanta a 1.5 goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. Empoli have been really good at home, but they've and honestly have been great this season, but it's really been from not scoring a lot of goals. So that's a big question. I think the Empoli side is big, but I'm not sure I want it as much as I lean to the under 2 3/4, though I'd love to get 3, and I don't have that yet. So I probably have nothing on that game right now as we record in the wee hours of Saturday, December 21st here in South Carolina, USA. Move next to Monza hosting Juventus. Currently Monza 3/4 goal underdog at home with Juve all the juice. Total is 2.25, juice really heavily to under here as well. I don't trust Monza to score. I don't trust Juventus to score. I trust Juventus defense a lot more than I trust Monza's, but there's a lot of questions about both these teams scoring goals, and we have a 2.25 total, which I think is too big. So I'll lean to the Monza under 2.25 there, probably more so than the side until I get a full goal of insurance, which we could and could be there soon. Moving to Monday, Fiorentina hosting Udinese. Currently, Fiorentina 1-goal favorite at home. While the juice and Udinese coming off their Coppa Italia midweek with Inter. Totals 2.5, juice pretty heavily to over. Fiorentina are much better. They're better rested. That's not great combo for Udinese. I like the full goal of insurance. I'm not sure there's enough there for me. Nightcap of Inter Milan on Monday, 1 3/4 goal favorite. The Como, a little bit more juice in the home team. Total is 3, juice pretty heavily to over. I don't trust Como as a big underdog. I don't trust them to keep balls out of their net, but I don't really trust them to score either. Probably biggest interest for me is another over Joe Dollar. There we go, over 3. I'm just not sure it's going to be that close to making my card. So from Italy, for my favorite bet on this episode, I'm going to go with that Lecce Lazio. I'll go. I'll go Genoa Napoli under 2.25 goals. I think that is much more likely to see a goalless draw, which is ultimately the goal and the dream when you're playing unders. Last but not least, I'll get to the German Bundesliga as I wear a Bayern Munchen shirt, and then we will come out with an ultimate best bet coming end of show. So stick around. We've got a few more minutes left. And actually, I should check if there's anyone watching live. It is super late, so probably not. But and I have no idea what just happened here. All right, yes, here we go. So if you are on StreamYard Live, someone's live with us. So if you want to throw it in here, if you got something to say, you want to talk about something, please come on in. The water is warm. But for this, let's start with the German Bundesliga. We have Eintracht Frankfurt, a half a goal favorite, a little bit more juice to Mainz 05. Totals 2.75, just all the way to over. Now, Eintracht Frankfurt have been great, but they've been kind of slumping a little bit lately. We'll see how Mainz 05 handle their upset victory of Bayern München. I would love to be against Mainz. I just don't really bet favorites of this size or really of any size in this sport. So I don't know that Eintracht and their struggles lately have really done enough to, especially after their managers was saying weird stuff to the ESPN host, like nerdy guy on the sideline about all these expectations, questions, and stuff like that. I mean, it happened because Eintracht Frankfurt were in second in the Bundesliga and the only team that looked like they had a pulse at the time. But here we are. There we go, I guess. I'll lean to Mainz getting a half of a goal. I just don't really know that the setup is great because I think at this point you're backing Mainz away from home. It's really hard to back unders. And honestly, in a high scoring matchup, potentially where they're trying to play with intensity and could get counterattacked by the pace that Eintracht Frankfurt can use, that's a really scary matchup for me. Next, we'll go to VfB Stuttgart. VfB Stuttgart hosting St. Pauli. Currently, Stuttgart a 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Totals 2.75. She's pretty heavily to over. I don't see a lot of goals. St. Pauli have real trouble scoring, but they're good at controlling games, except Stuttgart are the ultimate. I think they have the highest possession in all of Champions League, which is bizarre. Should be able to do that against St. Pauli, but St. Pauli are going to go in and try to control this game. And I think the confrontation line is far away from the St. Pauli big underdog goal away from home. So I'm interested in the full goal of insurance, though I certainly would like more than that as the juice is pointing towards a higher price. Lean to under 2.75, so I would love to get a full 3. Moving next to TSG Hoffenheim, Jose Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently Hoffenheim a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Gladbach away from home total is 3, just a little bit more to over. Now, these are two teams. Gladbach awful away from home. Hoffenheim awful everywhere. Just kidding, but especially bad. So two bad road teams, but Hoffenheim luckily are at home for this one. I just don't trust them, and they've not played well for a long time. They sacked their manager. I don't think their new one is very intelligent, but Gladbach have had big road troubles. So I just don't know that there's much for me to play on this one. And we'll move next to Werder Bremen hosting Union Berlin. Currently Werder a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Union. Total is 2.25, juice all the way to over. It's a really low total, 2.25, but you see that from time to time with Union Berlin in the German Bundesliga. Union have been really struggling to score goals. I do like their side, but I think I like under more than anything in this one, especially Union Berlin with that wild ending where a fan threw a lighter, hit and I think concussed the VfL Bochum goalkeeper. And then they decided after to restart the match, they put in a striker at goalkeepers because Bochum couldn't do any more substitutions, and then literally just kicked the ball around until the clock ran out. Nice for my under 2.5, to say the least, at a 1-1. At risk of one more goal, just sending me into the atmosphere or something like that. But leaned to Union, a half of a goal underdog. Also leaned under 2.25. Moving next to Holstein Kiel hosting Augsburg. Currently Kiel a quarter goal underdog at home with all both juice. Total is 2.5. Juice is split both ways. Augsburg as a road favorite just shouldn't be. So I'm very interested in Kiel. Augsburg never win away. So a draw away from home, you get paid at least half of your bet right now in Holstein Kiel. But I think my biggest interest there is under 2.5. It's tough to trust the Kiel defense, honestly, but I don't trust them to score. And Augsburg struggles so much to score themselves. Augsburg really made it, and they sacked their manager last season, brought in a new one who'd done really well based on turning over other teams. That's not worked as well this year. I think the Bundesliga has figured it out. Big question is, can a promoted do so? But with 2.5 goals, I don't expect to see many in that matchup on Saturday morning or in 8 hours from now. Moving to the nightcap, the Top Spiel on Saturday with Bayer Leverkusen hosting the Sports Club Freiburg. Currently, Leverkusen a 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 3, just a little bit more to under. Don't look now. Leverkusen are climbing up the table and are right breathing down the necks of Bayern München. With that said, they also have Freiburg, who are a good team, but have really struggled with the best clubs in Germany for years and years and years, and they really struggle to stay in tight matches too. I think Leverkusen have shown a little bit better defense as of late and have been a little bit more conservative. And I think that's something that Xabi Alonso has been working on. I think my biggest interest is under 3, especially after seeing Freiburg score a bunch of goals, take a 3-0 lead, and then hold on for dear life and lose 3-2. I'm not sure I love the under 3 here, but that's my current lead at the moment. Moving to Sunday, VfL Bochum hosting Noda FCH, so FC Heidenheim. Currently, Bochum a quarter goal favorite at home. What a surprise! Team hasn't won all year, but they're favorite at home with almost all the juice on Heidenheim. Away from home, totals 2 3/4, just more to the under. Also a high total. I lean to Heidenheim getting the quarter goal and under 2 3/4. Bochum have stayed in the league much longer than expected because their home crowd has been awesome, but I don't really see that continuing. So give me the road team and the under in that matchup. Hope to split at worst and potentially win both in a very low scoring, big time relegation fight, potential battle at the bottom. Last but not least, VfL Wolfsburg hosts Borussia Dortmund. Currently, Wolfsburg a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Total is 3, just really heavily to under. Wolfsburg with a really bad showing last Friday at Freiburg, but fell behind 3-0 and fought back to 3-2 and nearly equalized late. Now they get Borussia Dortmund at home, who they eliminated in the DFB Pokal. Dortmund can't win away from home, yet they're favorite every time they play. Give me Wolfsburg that quarter of a goal at home and lean to under 3 in that matchup as well. Before I get to the ultimate best bet, I got to give out my Bundesliga pick, and then, of course, I'll give out some other, hopefully of interest things to check out on the various podcast platforms that you might find me upon. But from Germany, I think my biggest interest is in that Augsburg under 2.5 goals. It feels hard to see goals being scored in that one, and also in the Werder Bremen Union Berlin. So maybe I'm doing a service and giving out an extra best bet, but I think that's probably where I should go. I also like the Stuttgart St. Pauli under. There's certainly a lot more firepower on the Stuttgart offense than any of these others we're talking about. I'll go with that Holstein Kiel Augsburg under 2.5 as my best bet in the German Bundesliga. So that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Before we get to the ultimate best bet, which is coming in the show, I want to mention the Need for Seeds College Basketball podcast with Big East Ben, just recorded on the pregame.com podcast network. That just is coming out for a Saturday card. Of course, we have an NFL podcast with A_Schnicker, which we recorded Tuesday night, mapped out where the lines will all move for a big Saturday and Sunday, and of course Monday slate. Other college football podcasts are out on the pregame.com podcast network too, with El Jefe 603, one of our good friends, Ben and mine from business school. We went over all of the very important and essential college football playoff first rounds. Already got one in the books tonight, and plenty more of that where that's all coming from. So stay tuned and I guess see a little bit more of that. So now it's time for the ultimate best bet. Make sure if you're not subscribed, please do so at the Real G Warner across all platforms, including check out my Patreon if you would. But also, more importantly, check out, that's probably the most important thing to me, actually. But if you go and make sure you're subscribed, Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And of course, go follow at the Real G Warner on Instagram and on YouTube. So you can see these 1-minute videos every time they're posted, or the full versions on YouTube specifically as well. So let's do it. Hey, this is the Real G Warner, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for betting the pitch. I'm 20-5 year to date on our picks. Every selection, I go through the top European soccer leagues. I pick out my favorite bet, and then I smash them all together for my favorite pick. On this episode from the English Premier League, I like Crystal Palace under 2.5 goals. In La Liga in Spain, I like Atletico Madrid, a half of a goal underdog at Barcelona. In Serie A in Italy, I like Genoa under 2.25 goals. In the German Bundesliga, I like Kiel under 2.5. But for the ultimate best bet on this episode, 20-5 year to date, incredible run, trying to keep that going. I'll go with Atletico Madrid, a half of a goal underdog at Barca. Atleti have been playing great. They haven't done it in the most spectacular, most beautiful of fashions. That is exactly the Diego Simeone way. Barca have started off the year well, but have really fallen apart, have suffered some injuries. But that's not an excuse. Take Atletico Madrid, a half of a goal underdog, for my best bet to try to get to 21-5 this season. And that'll do for this episode. Thanks for hanging out. Super late night with me. I'll check if I got any comments that came in. I got a bunch of you watching live now. Thank you for coming in late night with the Real G Warner. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're watching so you can make sure you don't miss the next one. And I do some late ones, unfortunately, even though I'd love to be sleeping at this moment. Gonna watch some more soccer matches, catching up on last week, and then get some bets out. And we'll see you all bright and early in just a few hours.
Recording stopped.